Hello, my Facebook family. Thank you for joining me today on my Crystal Loves Texas podcast. And we've got a special show for you today and a special guest. You'll recognize him in just a minute. Well, you see him. He's right there by me. He's no stranger to the show. We've got Damion Walker with Cognitive Justice International, but we are bringing you a little bit of a different take on a perspective today. Because if you remember, those of you who have been a friend of the show for a couple of years now, remember we started out this show with a really, really solid foundation on trying to make sure that the rights of those people who had been formerly incarcerated or who have been justice impacted are sustained, and that those people, once they are released, once they are integrated back in, or when they're beginning to be integrated back into society, they are met with opportunity and not with doors being shut all the way around. And during that time, I met Damion Walker. At that time, Damion was with, I believe he was with Harris County. Yes. He is now with Cognitive Justice International full time. I'm going to let him introduce himself. Hey, Damion, introduce yourself to everybody.
Hey, Crystal, how you doing? Nice to be back on. This is a familiar setting for us, right?
It is. It is now. Yes.
Yes, I'm thankful for the platform. Yeah, so Damion Walker, Cognitive Justice International organization I started about 3 years ago, and basically focusing on justice issues. We do a lot of training for agencies that want to understand the population that they serve a little bit more, but also working with those that are formerly incarcerated to be able to assist them with finding employment, training, housing, whatever we can do, but really want to be able to help guide them through their process of reentry. We also, one of our main focuses is the community violence intervention model. So working to have a school-based program to actually go in and work with the youth and also the facility, the staff of the schools to be able to help them work through alternatives to gun violence, but mainly alternatives to violence while they're actually in the school. So the goal is to work with the students and the faculty as well.
And the thing about it is, I teach young people, people who are of the age that are the ones that are right at that cusp of possibly making a bad decision just out of emotion. Yeah. And you can tell us, because that's part of your story, making a bad decision out of emotion or of being in a position as a young person with wanting to fit in and be a part of a community. Just one bad decision can lead you down a road that is difficult to come back from.
Yeah, and often one bad decision is going to lead to another bad decision.
Yes.
Especially when you don't have those skills, like you said, it's emotional, but when you don't have those actual skills to be able to just say, stop yourself. Like my guy was telling me, the first rule of when you're in a hole is to stop digging. And a lot of us can get in those holes and we just keep digging, thinking that we're going to come out. Whatever's beneath us, we're going to come out on the other side, but we just keep digging. And at one point, you're going to start burying yourself. So it's good to be able to, like you say, knowing that you have those emotional responses, but also being able to come back and being able to address them. And a lot of times, myself included, those that are not mature enough, they will actually keep digging.
And you know what? Let me just say this, Damion. When the last time you were here and we talked about the initiative that you're doing now with another organization, and I'm going to let you talk about those two organizations in a second that you're working in conjunction with for this. Someone called me and they said, Crystal, I know that you do shows sometimes and you talk about opportunities for people who have been formerly incarcerated. Well,
Mhm.
I have got a nephew who was formerly incarcerated. He's a very young man, Damion.
Mhm.
And she said, I've got a nephew who has been formerly incarcerated, and he's having a really hard time finding an opportunity out there. But as we know, if these days it's not the same as it was maybe 10 or 15 years ago, right? There,
Yeah.
there are there are entities that specialize in offering second chances to people who have been formerly incarcerated, and that sort of brings us
Mhm.
to where we are today. This show is going to be focusing on giving opportunities to people who want to have a second chance, who want to take advantage of a
Mhm.
second chance, who have the heart to take advantage of a second chance, and aligning them with people who are willing to extend that second chance. And
Yeah.
Damion, Cognitive Justice International is partnering with what other two entities to put this into place?
So first, let's talk about my guy Dominique. He's not able to be here tonight, but Dominique has a business.
Dominic who?
Um, Dominique Palmer.
Yes.
I'm acting like everybody know him, right?
That's
I
okay.
know,
Well,
yeah. So
his
Dominique
name is down
Palmer.
at the bottom of the screen anyway, so we'll know that. Yes, Dominique Palmer. Tell me
Yeah.
about him.
So he actually, man, a passionate brother, man. Actually started a business a few years back that's focused around providing housing for disadvantaged and underserved individuals. So being able to provide that housing means that basically those individuals will be able to come in and have affordable housing. That's a big issue in the community in Houston and around the nation. And the
Right.
name of the business is Doors to Serenity. So we
Okay.
want to provide supportive housing for veterans, youth, reentry. We're working to hopefully do for domestic violence, but we have to scale, of course. So
Right.
Doors to Serenity is basically a passion project from Dominique, being able to provide affordable housing to individuals who are needing to get to that point to sustain themselves. So we always call it supportive housing. We
Yeah.
have Sydney, who you met last time. She's
Right.
actually the LMSW on the staff too, to be able to come in and help those individuals with counseling needs. We provide job training through some of our partners. But the main thing is that you want to provide a great environment for individuals to be able to thrive and get back on their feet. For whatever reason, they're in a situation where they need to come in and maybe share a room with somebody.
Yes.
But the main thing is that you don't want to make anybody feel like they're less than or that they're not as accomplished. I always say,
Right.
give yourself credit for what you're doing when you're on your journey back to sustainability and being
Yes.
able to make a decision to say, hey, I need to stay here for 6 months. Let's come up with a
Exactly.
6-month plan for you and
And you
give
know,
yourself credit for that.
that's right. And you know what, Damion, you reiterate this for me because I know that I was one of these people at one time, but sitting with you and others, after having this discussion, my mind has been changed. But reiterate to people that everyone who may come up on a situation where they need to be in a halfway house or a temporary housing situation is not drug addicted.
No, 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 not at all. So my story, I don't think you know this part. I had to go to a transition facility when I was released.
Okay.
So the story goes that the guy that I went to jail with, his mother is actually like my mother, right? So we were
Right.
kids when we got incarcerated. I actually was paroling to her house. My
Okay.
mother had passed away. My grandparents had passed away. So I was paroling to her house.
Okay.
He actually made parole not long after me. I
Okay.
had to switch, right? That's her son. I had to
Okay.
switch
Yes.
up. I went to a transitional facility. I didn't have a drug problem. I didn't have any of those
Right.
issues. It was just something that life had hit me in a certain way. And,
Yes.
glory to God, every time it hit me, I was able to adjust. And
Yes.
sometimes individuals may have a situation where they're no longer with their spouse, who they live with, and they made a decision to let me leave. And
Right.
they left and wanted to go have shelter because they
Yes.
may have already had a job.
Yes.
It could be a drug situation. It could be a situation where there's a youth who actually just is not getting along with their parents, or they may have aged out of foster care, and they just
Okay.
want to come to an environment that they know they can be safe for them. but also productive and supportive as well.
Okay, so let's kind of walk through a hypothetical here. So Serenity House would
Mhm. Doors to serenity.
I'm sorry, Doors to Serenity.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Doors to
Yes,
Serenity
ma'am.
would there would be someone there, and there are entities there who would carefully vet everyone who's coming
Mhm.
in to make
Yeah,
sure they're the right fit for that
yeah,
environment,
yeah,
because of course you may not want to bring someone into a certain environment where there aren't other people who are have never had a drug dependency problem, who could
yeah.
possibly be bringing something into the environment with everyone else. Is that something that happens often?
Oh, every person is vetted, because we want to make sure again that the environment that we desire to provide is one of holistic service. So you have to protect that. You know, you have to protect those that are under your care. So we
Yeah.
vet every single person. They may come highly regarded from a partner, but we want to make sure still we go through that process and just give credence to those that are already there, because
Yes.
you don't want one person to come in. I've experienced that living in a halfway house. I ain't gonna lie, I've experienced that. So you don't
Tell
want
me
one
about that. Tell
person.
me about that experience. For example.
Oh, for example, there was a guy that came in, multiple guys, but there was a guy that came in that was just rebellious. And I was on a GPS monitor actually, so we all had the same parole officer. He
Wow.
was just rebellious, had got kicked out of another halfway house, had a car, so he would bring like the women into the transitional facility.
Was that
He was on the
allowed?
monitor himself. Not
Was
at
that
all.
allowed? No.
No, it wasn't allowed, because you have to be aware of the other individuals that are going through their struggles. This
That's
wasn't one
right.
where like anybody was coming up in this one. Uh, so he would come in and he actually caused a lot of issues with like the house manager and people that was actually going through their situation, because
Yes.
you had some guys that still was dealing with their drug issues. But then you
Right.
had me I was going to U of H at the time at the
Yeah.
halfway house, and I had the monitor on. So I was okay, but I just didn't want any conflict. So I began to just go to school, go to work, and stay in my room all the time. So I wasn't developing coming back into society, because now I'm being antisocial because I don't want to be around this person
Yes.
because of the issues they having, because I don't know if it's going to affect me in any way negative because I'm on parole and I'm on a
Right.
monitor. Yeah, so that was just one of the situations.
Okay, now this is a question that I have, Damion, and possibly it's going to be a question that other people who are watching may have too. Now, if basically you would end up at a place like Doors to Serenity
Yeah.
because you may have become down on your luck, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. If you're down on your luck, many times you're not going to have funds to be able to pay for a a dormitory room or
Mhm.
a shared apartment. So how is the rent? How's the rent paid for this? Do people have to come up with enough money per month, or is it subsidized by government programs?
So right now it would come out of the individual's pocket. We've actually applied for some subsidies, some government grants.
Right.
So it would be that the individual would have to pay out of pocket. That's why we have lower rates. Our rates are capped at $750 a person, and that's a month. We
Okay.
can work with other situations depending on what they are, but that's our usual rate, because it helps sustain everything. We don't have like super big properties right now, so we try to be
Right.
more quaint
Right.
in areas. We're actually out there in some. We have two properties in Sunnyside,
Okay.
so we're actually out there and we're looking at other places. So, but mainly you do have to be able to provide or even say, hey, this is what's happening in my life, and then I can have this, and you can come up, be able to come up with some more. But we have to make sure that we're sustained as well, as the business that we're running. But again, we try to do it with a heart of service.
Okay. Well, Damion, let me I'm going to do a little scenario here, and you tell me how Cognitive Justice International,
Mm.
Doors to Serenity, and what is the third entity that you all will be partnering with for this initiative?
Share jobs.
And Share Jobs for
Mhm.
Progress
Mhm.
would come into play here?
So
I
go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. I This is a hypothetical scenario. I have
Mhm.
a niece or a nephew who is coming out of incarceration. Well,
Mhm.
actually, he was released 6 months ago,
Okay.
and he's back at home with his father, and his father is working every day. However, it's been very difficult for him to be able to find work because of his background,
Mhm.
and he also has a reading deficit because he's dyslexic,
Mhm.
and but he is very willing to go out and try to learn a skill so that he can be self-sustaining. Even if he decides to stay at home with his dad, he
Mhm.
wants to be able to contribute to that household. He wants a career at this
Mhm.
point in his life. How would you all come into play in that situation?
Okay, so in that situation, so I want to briefly explain too. Said Jobs is a entity that I partner with and that the community partners with. It's not necessarily fully integrated into what we're doing here
Hmm.
with the housing, but in a sense it is. So I just want to make that clear
Okay.
in case something happens. But again, it's kind of separate, but it is together, right?
Okay.
So and then I'll tell you how I'm connected to Sarah after we go through this scenario. So
Okay.
let's just say the person is 23, right?
Right.
So let's just say that they're 23, dyslexia, confessing again. I have a form of dyslexia, right?
Okay.
So I understand that. So that's an experience that I can talk to this individual about the struggles and about overcoming, but also succeeding with the condition. So when
Right.
they come out, they have an opportunity to come to Doors of Serenity. We do an assessment, figure out what their goals are, and if their goals are to again get a career, make sure that they want to have long-term goals, we'll do an assessment. And in that
Okay.
assessment, we will talk about what do we need to get to those long-term goals. Do you have your ID? Do you have your social security card? Do you have your birth certificate? So now do you have a drug case? Because sometimes drug cases in the past would keep you out of certain fundings, right? So
Hmm.
figure out what that case is. So go through that. Do a comprehensive assessment as possible. And as you're
Okay.
doing that assessment, then you'll know what partners that you would be able to refer them to, especially if they have deficiencies on being able to get some of those documents. So
Right.
after we go through that process, we have the housing secured. They're going to be here. So now we will go to an entity like a Said Jobs. Guys,
Okay.
23. So Sarah right now has an opportunity to do free training for 18 through 24-year-olds that I have the privilege of working with them on, right? So
Wow.
CDL free, HVAC,
And tell me what the CDL stands for. I know, but I just want you to explain it.
commercial driver's license,
So that's like driving trucks,
18 wheeler, yes,
delivery
ma'am.
trucks, or over the road 18-wheeler type
Yes,
trucks.
yes, ma'am. And
Okay.
also they can do hot shots as well. You have to have your license for that too.
Okay.
Don't ask me what HVAC stand for.
Oh, that's heating. That's heating and air conditioning.
Okay, so HVAC, so the heating and
Heating,
air
ventilation,
conditioning,
air conditioning. Yes.
heating ventilation. I learned that from you. I learned that from you. So heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Of
Yeah.
course, you know you're gonna need that in Texas, especially in the
In
summertime.
Houston, absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes. Welding. So this is another trade.
Yes.
Construction and becoming an electrician. Those
Wow.
five trades, 18 through 24, are free. You just have to qualify, contact me, but you have to be also some sort of system impacted as well. System impacted, you may have went through foster care,
Okay.
you may be homeless or unhoused,
Okay.
which is a new term.
Yes.
Um, Kids, you may have kids. Your parents may have had certain situations. So some sort of way system impacted, right?
And someone having a learning a deficit like dyslexia, is that considered system impacted? Because that would be special services would have been provided. That's
Special
a
services, but
disability.
also remember that the person was coming out of incarceration. So without a doubt,
That's
so
okay.
so now that's coupled.
Okay.
That's something on top of something. That's an issue on top of an issue that we want to be able to provide assistance with to help you get to sustainability. So
Okay.
we will go through that process. We will contact, we will have you fill out the information to be able to contact the agency. Then we would contact them and say, hey, we have this individual. One thing that I like to do when I'm working with agencies or individuals is to have a direct contact with who's ever going to enroll them, because more often I'm working with somebody whose system impacted, but they don't trust people. And if they trust
Tell
me,
me a little bit about that. Is that something that's pretty common when people are coming out of the system?
yes, ma'am, it's very, very common, because though they may have created a crime, they may have done a crime, they went down and did 3 years.
Right.
But what happened to them before that crime was created, right? Were they abused? Did they see a family member pass away?
Yes.
Were they shot? Were they assaulted?
Okay.
Had they been molested? You know, it gets that serious, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times they don't trust people. So to cover up for trauma and ailments that they may have, they act out, right?
Exactly.
And there's no excuse for creating a crime. I'm not saying that it is.
That's right.
But a lot of times they'll act out, and they act out to where they get incarcerated. They have to plead guilty. They're on probation or those things. So now they're back into society, and no telling what happened to them while they were in that system. No telling. You don't know.
Oof, that's a lot.
So no telling. Yeah. So you don't know what happened to them while they're in the system. So now they're coming out of the system, and they come and they meet Crystal. And Crystal says, hey, I have this program, Crystal Love Texas program for 17 through 30-year-olds.
Right.
And you call Damion, and Damion, hey, I got this person. First off, they trusted Crystal.
Right.
And because they trust you, I have to honor your trust. And you're going to pass them on to me. And I'm saying, okay, I may have the knowledge and the connection, but I don't have the actual resource. Let me connect them to the resource. So now they're trusting me. So now we didn't pass them along to 3 different situations, right?
Right.
This is true. We've passed them along to 3 different situations. When I pass them along to the agency is going to give them a career coach. That's 4. So now they have to
how many have you lost by then?
It just depends on your involvement and my involvement.
Okay.
So because you are what I call a pipeline.
Right.
So because you're the pipeline, you have a good relationship with them. I want them to maintain that relationship with you. Never cut that off. I'm going to maintain that relationship. I have to answer the phone every time they call.
Exactly.
Every time they text. I can show you my phone right now.
Right.
Every time you text, every time you call, I have to answer. I have to reply.
Yeah.
Because they're trusting me, because I connected them to the agency. I've told them my story. They know that I've been through the same thing they've been through. They know I've been through the system.
Yes.
You know, I came out of the system, and now they see me as successful. So now we're going through that process. So now they trust that I can help them get through the system as well. All individuals like me, because there are a lot of other individuals that serve these communities that are just like me, good, better, learning and everything else, right? So I'm thankful for this community that we have. So now you go through the process of enrolling them, finding out what they need, finding out what's available. But also one thing that I like to do is help find employment while they're going through that process. Yes. Part-time, late at night, after the class, the weekend. You want to be able to address them as best as possible holistically. Holistically means addressing all the social determinants of health. We already address housing.
Right.
We're not addressing training that can lead to a career. Now let's address income.
Right.
And sometimes we have to address food. Let's sign you up for food stamps.
Okay.
If it's a female with a child, let's sign you up for WIC. Okay. So now that means that I have to learn these systems. If I don't know them already, it's a lot. It's a lot. So going through the process, you want to make sure that you do your best to have a great assessment and then walk them through what that assessment looks like.
Okay, Damion, you said a mouthful just right there. So with that in mind, how long would that process possibly take? Just in theory, how long would that take from the time if somebody is watching, or if they share this podcast with someone in their family right now who's eligible based on the things that you've just said, 1 or 2 of those things. And we know that this program is starting soon. When is the program starting, or is it ongoing?
So we're actually enrolling right now. And like I've been expressing to people, there's a sense of urgency because it's a program that's funded. Okay. Funding runs out. That's why it's free. Yeah, so
Gotcha.
nobody's really paying it out their pocket. You know, you have government agencies and other foundations that have actually given to SARE and other organizations. So
Yes.
we're enrolling right now. The sense of urgency is to enroll immediately, to get them starting that process, to get their paperwork done. Training is actually starting. We have a CDL training that's starting at the beginning of February, I believe,
Okay.
or next week. It's all in my head, like it's like
Okay.
really, really running. So training will be starting soon. But the thing is to get them in that pipeline. You want to get them in that pipeline, and as they're in that pipeline, also address other needs that may be there. Do you have your ID? Do you have your GED?
Yes.
So let's enroll you, to become a part of this, and let's also address what other needs we need to as well, because that's the holistic approach.
And you know what, Damion, I'll never forget when you were on here. You opened our eyes to so much one of the shows that you were on, and this is something I think that a lot of people don't even realize. When someone is coming home, they may not have an ID.
Mm-hmm.
They may not have do they, of course they have a social security card, but probably, or maybe not, but
No,
they may not have, they have 2 or 3 aliases that they may have to get corrected
exactly.
when they
Yeah.
come back. Explain that a little bit.
So
And
I
why,
didn't have
and
my
why,
I didn't know my social security number until I was getting released. I was 33 and I
wow.
wanted to go to college. So when I
Yeah.
was in prison going to college, Alvin Community College, I
Right.
actually signed up for college with my TDC number. And I put
Wow.
000, and then I put my TDC number behind that. So
Okay.
when I went to University of Houston when I got out and they looked at my transcripts, they was like, well, this is fake. I was like, I had to tell them immediately, no, I was in prison. And
Yeah.
that's why my TDC number is actually on my Alvin Community College transcript.
Yeah.
And when I would enroll in colleges after that, working on my MBA, these colleges would say, well, what's wrong? And I had to tell them I went to
Right.
prison. So now this one has to happen too.
Yeah.
Depending on when you went, you have to write and get a letter from what's the place where you sign up for, like the Army and the military.
Selective service.
You have to get a letter from Selective Service. I have a letter from Selective Service saying that I was barred from registering for the
Got
draft
you.
or whatever. Yeah,
Because of
so
this situation. Yes.
exactly. And you only get one letter, like and they tell you to keep it. So that's what
Wow.
people don't know. So if you're young and you go in and you never registered for Selective Service, you have to actually get an exemption letter, right? I went through the system. I understand that. I
Did not
know.
know that. Did
Yeah.
not
So I
know
didn't
that.
have my social security card. So when I was leaving, Dr. Martin Smith from I was at Caravans. They
Yeah.
gave me my social security, and that was the first time I ever even knew what my social security number was. I was 33 coming out of prison, and I remember my social security number. So going to and
Yes.
getting those documents is very, very important. That's why it's important that you engage with the program, knowing that, hey, they can assist you or they can refer you out.
And tell me about this. Like you were saying with the different aliases, when you come back into society, you're not going to be you're not going to be known by the 2 or 3 aliases that you may have had before then. You're going to have to establish your government
Yeah,
name.
yeah. So there are actually some guys that go down under an alias the whole time they're down there.
How can
And
you
it
do
may
that,
be
Damion? How is that done?
the
Can't they figure
system
out
didn't
who these
catch it.
people are?
This probably the first time I could blame the system on something. The system didn't really catch it. And I really don't know. I've met several individuals. So when they come out, they just like you say, they have to address that. They have to address what their social security card says, because their TDC ID is going to say something, but now
Yeah.
they're trying to get back to what their birth certificate says. So that's
Right.
the issue that I've watched individuals go through that,
Yeah.
but I didn't have to go, and I really don't even know what they had to do, but I've seen them struggle, right? I've seen them struggle going back and forth, trying to get the documents, and especially if you're from out of state. If you're from Mississippi, Louisiana, anywhere beside Texas, and you have to get your documents, man, it's hell.
So this can be so what you're saying is that if it's something that you're interested in, if you know someone who would fit the criteria to take part in this particular program, the time is now to start getting the ball
Yeah,
rolling. It's not something that you can register for online tonight and show up in class tomorrow.
no.
They're gonna be some steps, especially if you don't have all of your ducks in a row
Mhm.
in order to do that in the correct way.
Yeah, and it's just like signing up. People gotta understand, like when people are coming from being system impacted and they want to change their life,
Yeah,
sometimes they haven't been through these processes, right?
that's
I
right.
know. I went to college. I know you got to sign up before the classes fill up, and you got to
Yeah,
make sure. And so people can't expect for somebody that's coming out of situations that's
right.
trying to change their life to understand every single process. You can't always get the best clients. Some agencies only want the best clients. You can't always get the best clients.
Yes.
You're going to take some hard cases, but that's who you really want, because those individuals that are actually going to be a champion for you
Yes.
for the rest of their life. They're going to be a champion for you.
That's right. That's a
But
walking advertisement. Yeah.
exactly. But it takes your agency. It takes a whole effort from the agency, but also, like we're saying, the community as a whole as well.
So, Damion, we know that the classes, like you said, the CDL class is starting in February. If
Mhm.
someone would like to register for that, and let's say that they simply have just maybe they were system impacted and maybe just had to go to jail here in Harris County or something
Yes.
like that, and they've got their social security card and number, they have a driver's license, but they just haven't been able to kind of get on their feet and
Mhm.
haven't had the money to go to college or pay for college classes.
Yes.
How would that person go about getting registered? What would they need to do? And we'll make sure that whatever you say, we'll drop that into the comments too.
Okay, so basically, with the one that I'm working with right now, they would have to fill out two forms. They would have to fill out the SARE application. Then they would also have to fill out a Go, because the program is Go. So they would have to fill out that particular application too, both online, and I can provide you with those links. I actually sent you those links, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we can put in the. We can go ahead and put that in the comments.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
So filling out both of those links, but also making sure that they contact me, because I want to be able to walk them through the process. I don't want anybody to fall through the gaps, right?
you're the first point
Um,
of contact.
yes, ma'am. I will be the
Yes,
first point of contact to make sure that, again, contacting the agency, asking them what documents do they have, and if I can connect them to somebody before they actually go through SARE to get all their documents, then I would want to do that as well. Connecting them to ID things, or provide helping them for whatever they need to is to register, right? If
yes.
it's a selective service thing, let's talk about that. Let's go ahead and send that communication off so we can get that back as well. So they would fill out the applications and then contact me. And then I would be able to assist them as best as possible in understanding what the process would be, understanding to be patient, and asking them what their needs are while they're going through class. The goal is to help them with employment while they're going through class. That's
Okay,
not a promise,
right.
but the goal is to be able to help them, but also figure out what their long-term goals are as well.
Okay, the programs that we said, and I'm going to repeat them again. We've got welding, we've got
Yes,
a licensed electrician, we've
yes,
got CDL, truck
yes,
driving, we've
yes.
got heating, ventilation, air conditioning,
Mhm.
and now core construction. Is that your basic construction crew? Tell me what that is. What is core construction?
Core construction is basically the OSHA 10. So going through those safety trainings to be able to learn what safety is on the job. That's one of the biggest things, because when you're going to a job, the foreman, the people, they want to know that everybody's going to make it out without injuries. You
Yes,
have an injury, if you drop in certain materials, you're going through that process, it's going to cost the job. And then the job
yes,
stops. If a job stops for a day, that could be, depending on what the job is, that's $100,000
that's right,
that's coming out of somebody's job. That's
right.
coming out of other people's pockets too. So basically understanding what safety is and etiquette. A lot of the things that we need to know as we're moving forward to other careers and professional stances, we need to understand what etiquette is. What is job etiquette? In the
Right.
midst of all this, we actually go through a job readiness portion too. So when somebody's
Yeah.
coming from an agency like SARE,
Yeah.
You want to tell them that, hey, this person has gone through a job readiness training, meaning that they've gone through how to sustain a job, understanding what the etiquette is, showing
Yes.
up on time. And these are simple things to
Yes.
some people, but to others, it's not. I
That's
saw
right.
something recently. The guy said, you may not have a money issue. You may have a being on time issue,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes you being able to go through these classes with a group of individuals, it'll help you recognize, man, I've never had a being on time issue. I
Right.
had a being lazy issue. I
Right.
had a not asking the right question issue. I had a
Yes.
being embarrassed issue. So
Yes.
going through these trainings and this job readiness will better help the person understand what they also need to better themselves as well.
And you know what, Damion? It's interesting that you should say that about job etiquette, because I was speaking to my sister the other day, and she was talking about she works with the city of Houston, and she
Mm-hmm.
was talking about how difficult it actually is, how difficult it actually is to get people in, vetted and qualified and hired on some of those entry level municipal jobs,
Mm-hmm.
because many times when they come in, they may come in a pair of shorts and flip
Mm-hmm.
flops and with shades on to the interview and sit back in the chair like that,
Yeah.
and things like that, that many of us would say, wait a minute, everybody knows that you don't do that.
Yes.
But some people actually just don't know, because they haven't had, because who would walk in knowingly to a job interview and set themselves up for failure? People
Yeah.
don't usually do that. They want to be successful, but they may not have the tools to be successful.
Agreed.
And that's
Agreed.
what that job etiquette is about.
Yeah, you have to do that. I've seen that on some interviews that I've done with some formerly incarcerated individuals. Yeah, but you can't assume if somebody's coming to you and this is what your agency is set up for. You can't assume that that person has all of those particular tools.
Right.
And when you see that, you can't bash them as well. I'm not gonna lie, I've seen it, and some of the stuff has been really funny, right? But you
Wow.
can't you can't go back and be like, hey man, you just effed up so much that no, you're not gonna have a job. I've
And
had
the
to
thing,
pull
yeah, and the thing about it is, they could have been the one who was the most qualified, but
exactly.
that in itself was the barrier to them taking being considered for the next step.
But you have to commit your and I go back to this. This is on the agency. The agency, the coaches, the the people that are actually walking them through these processes have to know that. And they have to be able to do their best to correct, not admonish, right?
Before, that's right.
Hey, man, I know you just did this here. Hey, and it may be again, it may be funny or whatever, but hey, man, be aware of this because this is your next level. What do you think your
Right.
next level look like?
That's
This is
right.
why you can't do that. So the
Right.
coaches, the individuals that are helping them sign up, they have to know that. Are there hard, really, really hard cases out there? Without a doubt. But again, what has this person experienced? You don't necessarily know what the person experienced. So because they're coming in and they're being comfortable and pushing themselves back like that, that's
Right.
them being comfortable
Right.
and
Right.
trying
They
to
don't
fit
know.
in. Sometimes they don't feel worthy. I've been that. I wasn't worthy. I didn't feel worthy.
Really?
Oh yeah. I walked into a job and I'll tell this and he can come on and see it. Anthony Graves. When I got hired at the public defender's office,
Yeah.
and I was qualified. I went through the interview. The people wanted me. I walked in there, and he said this before he saw me on the first day. He said, "Boy, hold your head up." He
Wow.
said, "You the professional. They got
Yeah.
you here because there's a job that you can do that nobody else can do,
That's right.
and you understand these families and what's going on here. Those individuals that went to school for 8, 9, 10 years, they don't know what you know,
That's
but you don't
right.
know what they know either because now y'all are going to be a team. So not only
Exactly.
him, but other men and more so men, and there's been women too. Damion, hold your head up because I didn't feel worthy because I felt guilty and ashamed of being in prison. Nobody had came to me and told me, "Hey, man, this is going to be your life."
Right.
So I
Right.
had to figure out what my life was going to be And I would go places. And remember, I had a GPS monitor on for 2 years
Yeah.
after release. So I'm hiding. I'm hiding a GPS. I had a box like this, and I had a monitor on my leg.
Yeah.
I'm walking around hiding a GPS monitor for 2 years, every
Wow.
day for 2 years, 600 and some days. How many other days in 2 years? 700. So I had to do that for 2 years. So just think about men and women that have went through what they went through. A lot of times they
Right.
feel
There's a
ashamed,
shame. There's a
and my
sense of
shame
shame.
was something
Yeah.
else because I didn't get abused. I didn't have a bunch of super violent situations, but maybe they
Right.
did.
Right.
So they're working through situations that other people have to recognize. That's why it's important for an agency to have the best coaches and continue to give them their
Yes.
training, because the population that they're dealing with is going to continue to evolve.
Well, Damion, let me ask you this: we know that CDL is getting ready to start.
Yeah.
Do these programs, are they starting simultaneously? Are they running simultaneously, or do they start at different times of the year? And what is the duration of the programs? Is it a 6-month, 18-month, 12-month program?
They're going to start at different times. So as soon as I get the training calendar, I'll make sure I
Okay.
share it with the public, and I
Okay.
also share it with you directly. The
Okay.
longest one is welding, which is 11 weeks. I think it's 11 or 12 weeks. That's the longest class.
Really? Okay. So
So
we're not talking about
they are high intense.
yes.
Let's go. Let's get you to the goal.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. So the highest, so the longest one is the welding, which is 11 or 12 weeks. I have it written down somewhere, but 11 or 12 weeks is the highest one. Let me see if I can look it up. Yeah, but that's the highest one. I know construction is 3 weeks, 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you know what? With some of these that you're talking about, electrician, um, um, uh, what were some of the other ones? Welding.
Yeah,
Some of these,
welding.
yeah, some of these ones, they are actually careers, Damion, that if a person wanted to, with the climate that we're in right now and the way that people can self-promote for free, after you have that training, if you want to promote yourself and say, this is, you got a little minivan, you can put that little magnetic sign on the side, and you can begin building your own business if you're so inclined to do that.
Yeah.
Start promoting on Instagram, start promoting on Snapchat, or whatever some of the other entities are where you can self-promote now.
Yeah.
So basically what you all are trying to get across to people is that regardless of your situation, regardless of the situation or what is behind you, that a bend in the road is not the end of the road.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt.
And you're living proof of that. This is one thing. One more thing I want to talk to you a little bit more about, because we're quickly running out of time. But are we heavily trying to promote these programs to women too?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, without that. 18 through 24, men and women. Let's go. Yeah, because you want to make sure that everybody's involved, but in a sense, like Sarah doesn't exclude anybody.
Yes.
And none of the agencies should. I mean, I can speak to other agencies, but we're specifically talking about Sarah. But other agencies, they don't exclude, from my understanding. I've been able to be a part of this community really since 2010, starting out, when I came home.
Right.
And like you started out, man, this stuff wasn't available. Some of them not even 7 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of this wasn't available to where they're saying, okay, you made mistakes or falsely convicted, whatever the situation is, right? You coming out of prison, you're coming out of an addiction, you're just getting it right. You didn't get your GED. You didn't get your diploma. You dropped out of school. You just didn't get it right. Let's go. Now is the time.
You just touched on something. Does someone have to have their high school diploma, or do they have to have their GED? And if so, will you guys point them in the right direction to be able to get one of those?
For this particular program, you don't have to have a GED, but Sarah has a GED program. Sarah has a GED program.
Is it free?
It's free.
Wow.
It's free.
So what you're
So
saying, Damion, is that there is absolutely no excuse.
there's no excuse.
No
There's no
excuse.
excuse. There's
If
no
you
excuse.
want to be successful,
Mm-hmm.
there are ways for you to be successful.
Yes. Yes. Again, the climate is ripe right now
It is.
for individuals to be able to say, hey, what do I need to do? Remember, now the individual has to be able to start commit. They have to commit to the
Accountability.
process.
Accountability. Yes.
Like I say, I'm assisting, and I can go out and go everywhere and recruit 1,500 people. But if you're telling me, hey, I'm not ready yet, I have to respect that, right?
Right.
I want to be able to respect that. You're not ready, but what about your brother? What about your sister? What about your homeboy? How they looking? I actually recruited an individual today, signed them up today. Been working with them. Let me tell this story real quick because I told it because I'm very proud.
Yeah.
Car broke down, got the car towed, right?
Right.
So the car was getting towed. 18-year-old kid. Man, was driving that truck, was setting everything up. We were having great conversation, right? We were talking. And at the end, I was like, man, what you want to do, man? How old are you? He was 18. He said, man, did he start giving me his goals? This was like 6, 7. No, how long was this? This was about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
I saved the tow truck driver, which was an 18-year-old kid with no high school diploma, no GED. I saved his number because I was impressed by his customer service, right?
Yes. Yes.
I signed him up today for CDL class.
Wow.
When I talked to him yesterday, he was like, I was saying, hey, bro, man, what's going on? I'm talking to him. And I said, I got to know the CDL class, what you want to do? He said, man, I've been looking for that.
Wow.
He said, he didn't say, this is what he did. Hey, bro, you want to sign up? He was talking to his homeboy.
Yeah.
I say, man, sign your homeboy up too. I'm going to send everything to you. I talked to him today. We went through the process. His homeboy wasn't ready. I respect that. I respect it, you know? So just being able to do what you can and maybe affecting him right now, we'll be able to affect others. But what happened is he's been doing his own business. So I'm going to meet with him next week.
Yeah.
He has his own business where he's been going around and clearing trash up from vacant lots. And he said, this is how much money I make a day. You know what he asked me? He said, man, you got a grant writer? I said, what would you want a grant writer for? He had a plan already.
So this guy is just ripe for success.
Yeah. He answered the phone every time I call. He respond to every call, every text message. So again, those are the individuals that you feel good to be able to get, right? Because he's going to be a champion for the agency. He's going to be a champion for me. He's going to be a champion of success. Now, I'm not looking for any credit. We're not looking for any credit.
Right.
But it's just a byproduct of what's going to happen because they're going to say, hey, well, I know you was doing this and you ain't even graduated. You got 5, 6 trucks right now.
Right.
That happened here. And he may start a school, right?
Exactly.
So the goal is to make sure that you offer the people the opportunity. Don't pick and choose who you offer the opportunity to. Just offer the people the opportunity.
Yeah, it may be the very one that you don't think is serious about it, who may be the most successful.
Without a doubt.
And Damion, one more thing. Now, I've there, like you said, there are programs like this that are taking place in all parts of the community. But let me tell you what I've heard, and you can kind of speak to this and tell me why you think this is the case. As good as this sounds, organizations have a hard time filling these classes.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because everybody is recruiting the same population. Everybody is recruiting 18 through 24-year-olds, veterans, kids aging out of foster care. This population, you got a lot of people, a lot of government money that has come down and a lot of foundations, and they say, hey, get us this population. But the issue is nobody knows how to get the population. The blessing is I know how to get the population, right?
Yeah.
I know how to connect to people with the population. There's other people, again, similar to me, that know how to connect with the population. The agencies have trouble because, one, I'm going to tell you, too, they don't hire the right people. Somebody gave me a chance.
Right.
I did 17 years. I had 5 25-year sentences run concurrent. And
Wow.
somebody said, come work at my nonprofit. I had never worked at a nonprofit. Every job I had was hustling, selling cars,
Right.
waiting tables, and then working at H&R Block.
Yeah.
Somebody said, because you worked at the radio station,
Right.
this is a transferable skill, because I volunteered at KCOH Radio for 3 years.
Right.
Because you know how to do that, you think you can transfer that here? You know this person, can you get to this? And
Yeah.
because I had volunteer, people gave me opportunities to volunteer, and not only opportunities, they gave me responsibilities.
Exactly.
So because I had the responsibilities of putting on major events, I learned how to network. We have to do the same thing with our population.
That's
so
right.
Nobody can get them because they don't have the right people. You have to go to Cutie Homes. You got to go to Dead End. You got to go to Coke Apartments. You got to go to Haverstock. You got to go to the parks. You got to pull up at these stores. A lot of times I didn't even pull out. I'm not going to act like I did. I didn't pull up at certain stores until I got with your kinfolk, Vaughn and Russ and everybody.
Right.
I didn't pull up at certain stores.
Really?
But they showed me how to navigate a little bit different. I brought the professional. They brought, they kept saying, they kept telling me I forgot where I came from, right? Because I wasn't in those communities anymore.
Right.
But
you have to meet them where they are. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to engage those communities. And those are the people that are always at the schools. They're not at the workforce solutions. You got to go to where they are. When they getting out of school and everybody.
Yes.
When everybody's selling drugs.
Yes.
All at 5 o'clock. When all the drug addicts and the drug dealers come out and everybody's feeling protected in the neighborhood and people start coming out, you got to be in the midst of all that. And you got to be consistent. And if you're not consistent, they're not going to trust you.
Wow. Now, see, you've said something right there that I had no idea about. I know that it is difficult, that people have always said that we have all these programs, but we can't fill them, because I know people with the plumbers union. The plumbers union has a similar program. Well, they will take individuals and train them for free, in the trade of plumbing, but they can't fill the programs many times. And I've heard the same thing about like the program that you're working with. But like you said, the key is being able to get to the people, get directly to the people who, and be able to speak to them where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And be able to let them know that this is the key. This is the key to getting you to where you're going to be 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Yep. Yep. So, but they have to believe. You have to believe. You have to be consistent. The agencies, the plumbing people, they have to understand. How do you promote plumbing? Who are you looking for to bring into these classes? What's your actual diagram to be able to recruit? Do you have a recruitment process? Do you know people? Do you know where to go? They don't.
They don't.
So they're going to just pay thousands of dollars for billboards.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell them to call me.
And that's what I was getting ready to say. You know what, Damion? CJI, that's another entity that is ripe for CJI to be able to go into, because the very people that we're talking about here are the people that's the market they're trying to get to. But then they'll have the even people that, I hate to put it like this, but that a lot of these kids, these young people are going to look at, and they're not trustworthy to them.
Yeah.
Who are coming and promoting this. And they're like, why would I go with you? You look like the person that arrested me and put me, you know what I mean? But there are many layers to what makes these programs successful. And I think that what you've got, and with SARE and with Doors to Serenity, you've got the layers in place that will help facilitate their success. It's not just throwing them an application and saying, fill this out and show up on Tuesday.
No, because you have to have that, but it also takes the experience. People train me, right? So it's only right that I not only take that training and be able to help other individuals, but I want to be able to speak to the population, the community that I actually came from. I was underserved. I was at risk. I was all those. And to God be the glory, I was able to come through with positive people and making some choices to take the hard road, because I could have took the easy road and did other stuff.
Right.
And just been able to make, and I'm not knocking anybody, but just been able to make, $30,000-$40,000 a year. And I've done that.
Yeah.
But then when I started learning and seeing more, when we met, I'm not the same person that you met, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I'm not that same person, because I continue my development. I could have stayed where I was at and just maintained. But because there's other opportunities, we want to be able to help other people.
That's right. That's right. And I see you networking in all types of capacities, Damion. So, Damion, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Like you said, for the links that you sent me, we will definitely get those links posted, in the chat underneath this podcast. But if someone wants to, just from watching this, if they want to reach out to you because they're interested in enrolling for one of these free programs,
yes,
that it's not based upon whether or not you have a past record. If you are living and breathing and you're 18 through 24 and you have the desire, you are a potential candidate. How would they go about reaching out to you?
Call me. Let's just do a phone call, text 713-499-9372. Call or text 713-499-9372. And let's just have a direct connection. Let's have a conversation. And if there's some issues where we have individuals that are older than that 24, I can't turn them away because they're coming to me, right? They're being referred to I'm not going to turn you away because there are other programs. I'm just talking about one right now.
There may be other.
But there are other programs. Yeah, let's figure it out, man. I'm not turning anybody away to being able to assist in any particular way.
And I want people to realize this, and I don't know if Damion even realizes this. I'm sure he does. But what Damion, for my viewers that are watching, what Damion actually is doing, he is telling you that I will be your mentor as you go forward and try to navigate what the next steps of your life are going to be. How many times do you have someone offer to be your mentor?
Yeah.
Not very often. But here's someone who's willing to do that. And he's saying that I'm going to put my reputation, I'm going to put my credentials on the line to see other people be successful. You can't ask for more than that. And Damion, listen, we're at the end of the road for this show, but It's just a bend in the road because I'm sure that we will see you back, because we want to know, we want you to come back the next time with some success stories and bring them in. Okay. The people who've had the opportunity to take advantage of the programs and to come out the other end, and they can speak of the success that they've had. But I want to thank you so much for coming on. And even though we weren't able to talk with Dominique today, we know that Doors to Serenity is standing with you in unison to try to make sure that that people are seeing success in this program. And it's just a matter of picking up that phone and getting started. Are there any last words that you'd like to leave with us, Damion?
I would just say, man, whenever and however you want to take those next steps to change, affect your life positively, man, do it. Like ask and don't stop until you get the answer. If you want a class, if you want to get your GED, if you want to go back to college, if you want to trade, whatever you want to do, like ask. Do your best to put yourself in a position to do that. And it's not going to be easy because it's not supposed to be, man. And it's okay with it being difficult. But just go through that process, man. And then if it's 3 months, if it's 2 weeks, just know the next 3 months is going to affect the next 30, 40, 50 years of your life, man. And 3 months to have 30, 40, 50 better years, man, is absolutely worth it.
And if you're not doing it for you, Damion, people need to do it for their kids.
Oh, yeah.
Because to make sure that your kids are where they need to be and are provided for like they need to be provided for, each one of these trades will put you in the exact right position you need to be to be in to make sure that that happens.
Yeah.
Damion J. Walker, thank you so much for joining us again. You are always a wealth of information.
Thank you so much, Crystal. It's
A
always a
wellspring
pleasure to be
of
back here.
absolutely a wellspring of information. And my Crystal Loves Texas podcast family will make sure that we get those sign up links dropped into the comments, and we will even tomorrow we'll make sure that on that flyer, as we post that flyer again, and as you share, those links will be in there so that you can just go ahead and access that and go directly to those links. Damion is extending his hand. Many times people say, no one's trying to help me, but Damion is extending his hand. He's extending his knowledge. This is your lifeline. Damion, thank you so much for being here. And as we say every week, we can do it.
We
See
can
you
do it.
later. Bye-bye.